So this guy, Jason Stanley, is a fascism expert. In fact, he wrote a book on fascism, or maybe even multiple books on fascism. And you know what? Crystal and I actually just listened to one of his books on fascism. I don't remember which one it was. There was one that was called On Tyranny. I don't know if that was Jason Stanley. I don't actually think that was his. It was the other one that we read. But the two fascism books Crystal and I listened to, they were actually very good. One of them was from more of a liberal perspective. The other one was from more of a leftist perspective. But they were both very good books. And so this guy is one of the multiple fascism experts who literally already fled the country. Because they looked at what was going on and they said, you know what? I know where this ends. I know where this is going. I got to get out of here. So he did. He fled the country. And now he went on CNN and he's basically issuing a dire warning to the rest of the country about what's to come. Let's watch.
Help us understand your decision. I know as you've explained this in some of your writings, it was partly about your children. But I also wonder, do you believe that, given what you study, that you yourself might have faced the possibility of arrest or other harassment had you stayed?
Well, first of all, Tim Snyder and Marcy Shore already moved. So they moved for a number of different reasons. And their presence there to set up sort of an institution to defend democracy was attractive for me. But your question is apt. I am not alone in wondering whether I will be targeted. This is a fascist, authoritarian atmosphere. There's a poem about this. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak up because I was not a communist, etc. Then they came for me.
By the way, I should just point out, the fact that we're now having these conversations on CNN is telling. Because CNN's role in the political landscape is both sidesism and false equivalence. And let me give this perspective and that perspective. And here you have, unequivocally, a conversation that's like, yep, this country is now fascist. And it's just being broadcast out there to the world, which is, again, that's good. That's good that they're warning everybody. Everybody is being warned. You can't say we're not being warned. Everybody is being warned repeatedly. So it's actually great that they had a segment like this going.
No one was left to speak for me. In this atmosphere of fear, everyone, the media, the professors, immigrants, LGBTQ Americans, everyone wonders whether they will be targeted. And that's deliberate. That culture of fear is deliberate. And so I saw that I had this opportunity and I thought, why do I have to live in a culture of fear?
Listen, add to the list. Law firms, right? Republican lawmakers who defied the president. So many have been targeted. I wonder why you believe the American public does not seem to be aware of this. Some people are, but I certainly don't see panic in the streets. I see people going about their lives. I mean, are we the frog in the boiling water?
Yes, we are the frog in the boiling water, but also I think there are more people that get it than he realizes, you know? I think a lot of people get it. We literally just did a segment on some neocons and liberals and centrists who sound like Che Guevara now, right? I think people get it. It's just I don't think most people know what the fuck to do about it. And, the best outlet that we've seen is people going out there for the hands-off protest and the anti-genocide protest. And you see this tsunami of phone calls now to Congress where people are really applying the pressure to their elected officials, going, don't you fucking dare vote for anything this guy does and stand up and check his ass. So I think people feel it. It's just, this country, we're a highly individualistic country. So the idea of actually organizing and taking action as a collective, I think is very foreign to the American psyche.
Well, fascism targets the pillars of democracy. And what are the pillars of democracy? The schools and universities, the legal system, and the media.
They literally already targeting all of those. Countless lawsuits against the media, arm twisting them to give him favorable coverage, right? The law firms got so many of them to bend the knee. But what happened recently, and I don't know if we talked about this on the show yet, is at first they said, sure, we'll give you some millions of dollars in pro bono law work. But then as soon as one law firm stood up and said, we're not fucking doing this, then there was a letter that had hundreds of law firms saying, fuck off, we're not doing this. And then those same law firms that had originally bent the knee, they realized oh shit, no, we didn't mean, they're balking now. They're like, no, we're not actually doing that because Trump wants them to defend the fucking indefensible, right? And so at first it was oh no, everybody's bending the knee. But then you had some law firms stand up, others got a spine, and then you're seeing the same thing with the schools, right? Harvard stood up and they were like, hey man, how about you go fuck yourself? At first, they were willing to work with the Trump administration because they thought okay, whatever, we get rid of a DEI program or two and then we're good, right? But then when the Trump administration sent them their list of demands, it was like fucking, it was literally straight up federal government fascist takeover of the school. It was like they had MAGA affirmative action in there. They wanted to ban certain classes. They only wanted certain perspectives taught. I mean, it was straight up anti-Semitism too. They got this big thing about, massive crackdown on anti-Semitism, which of course to them means if you just believe in Palestinian rights, you're fucking done. So they realized, oh no, they saw what happened, right? Everybody who gave Trump an inch, Trump looked at that and said, now I'm taking a mile. And so then everybody realized, okay, I guess we can't give an inch. Let's fight it. And they are. And then what happened, by the way, when Harvard stood up and fought, within 24 hours, they raised like $1 million. Because what the public was rewarding is, well, thank God, this is all we want is somebody fucking fight back and stand on their principles.
People in those three institutions that defend democracy are going to be the first to notice it. And of course, the scapegoats of fascism. So the scapegoats of fascism vary depending upon the country you live in. They could be Black people, Black Americans in the United States were the scapegoats of fascism, LGBTQ people, and always immigrants, always xenophobia.
Do you see any checks holding, right? You hear a lot about, well, the courts will stand in the way.
Yeah, to be fair, the courts have been just phenomenal. Every now and then you'll get a decision that's bad, but honestly, 80% of the time, whether it's a conservative, even if it's an ultra-conservative judge or a liberal judge, they're all saying the same thing. How many times? The U.S. aid cuts have been slapped down. The cuts to the NIH have been slapped down. The cuts to the CFPB have been slapped down. So everything Doge is doing is being slapped down in court on a daily fucking basis. The mass deportations of innocent people, which aren't even deportations, they're kidnappings and human traffickings, that has been slapped down. Everything's being slapped down. Everything's being slapped down. And so the courts are doing their job. In fact, I am pleasantly surprised at how even conservative judges appointed by Reagan or even appointed by Trump, some of them are going, no. So they're doing great. But again, the issue that they run into is, look, there is no judicial law enforcement, right? There is no judicial police force or judicial military. So they rely on the good faith of the other branches to adjust when they say, hey, you can't do that, right? And you're relying on Trump and Pete Hegseth and Kristi Noem and these fucking fascist psychopaths. And outside that, there's not much they could do, right? Look, they can, if they're truly continue to defy court orders, they can freeze assets. They can fine people and certain things. If you go after them civilly, there's nothing Trump could do about it, right? But if they try to say, okay, take the U.S. Marshals and arrest this person or that person, Trump could try to override that and the U.S. Marshals will likely side with Trump. So there's also an idea they could like deputize people who are not in the U.S. Marshals, but that's in the law, but it also hasn't been invoked since like the Wild West. But this is where we are now. Like we got to talk about like, are you going to deputize like some people with the at the ACLU to fucking try to go round these people up who are committing crimes? So, but they're trying, bro. They're fucking trying. They are trying. I swear to God, they're trying.
Decisions go against this president, but we've seen him go right up to the line, perhaps cross the line of ignoring those decisions.
And we're only a few months into this regime.
That's the scariest part. He's right. We've already had some rejection of Supreme Court orders, and it's like, we're only 100 days in. Like, where does this go? He's got 4 years, bro.
Yeah. So I think my reading of the situation, and this played into my decision to leave my home, my reading of the situation is that it's quite likely that we're headed into a fascist dictatorship. It's not clear what the breaks would be. It's not certain. The future is not certain. There could be a massed movement. There could be resistance. What Harvard University did is a source of hope. I think people now see that standing up is much more effective.
If we don't go full fascist dictatorship, if we don't, you ready for this? I think the only reason why would be Trump overreached and did a bunch of economic policies that piss off the capital interests, the money in this country, wealth, and they end up finding a way to get us out of it. And that's a dark scenario where like you're looking at like corporate interests and you're going, you're our last hope, right? But corporate interests, if you really think about it, they largely run the government. It's billionaires and corporate interests that really run our country. It really is. And so when you look at the tariffs, how scattershot the approach is, they have no idea what they're doing. They are tanking not only the stock market, but also tanking the value of the dollar. The dollar is on track to no longer be the world's reserve currency. All of our allies are abandoning us. The impact of that, a lot of corporations are pissed off. A lot of CEOs are pissed off. Like, really, with Trump's policies, it will only help like 10 people in the country, the 10 wealthiest people who are robber barons, and they'll buy up everything on the cheap, and they'll run the country and make you their slave corporate peasant. But outside of those 10 people, like all the medium-sized businesses, the small businesses, the people who are big, but they're not in the top 10, they'll be like, hey, yo, like, we got to find a way to stop this, right? So, I mean, it's sad, but that might be how immensely incompetent they are, right? That might be their undoing. And if we end up getting out of this, that might be the reason why. It's because, yes, they're evil. Yes, they're nefarious. Yes, they have a plan. Yes, they're implementing it. But at the same time, they're fucking dumb. They truly are dumb. Like, I'm saying, straight up low IQ, no idea what they're doing, just can't do shit right. Like, that's might be the main saving grace. The business community having enough and lining up against them, and them being immensely incompetent, right? I really wish we had some sort of no confidence type thing in this country where, you know how like Liz Truss was prime minister in the UK for like 7 seconds and then she was ousted? That shit already would have been invoked if it was about Trump, right? But we don't have that sort of process in this country.
You don't respond to a domestic abuser by trying to satisfy them.
That's such a good point. It's true. You can't give them an inch because they'll take a mile. You don't satisfy a domestic abuser by trying to concede to them. You got to fucking stand up, draw a line.
Their demands just get more extreme.
Yep.
So that gives me a lot of hope, actually. But right now we're 50-50 or whatever. I don't know how to do the statistics, but it's likely enough that you should be thinking about different. I mean, in my case, I had this great opportunity, and I looked at the probabilities.
A lot of folks beyond the courts point to the midterms and say, well, during the midterms, you'll get a check. Perhaps the House will go the other way. But I wonder, is it worth asking the question as to whether this administration, perhaps emboldened, would allow elections, or if not stop elections entirely, allow elections to proceed fairly?
Well, what authoritarianism is a culture of fear and threat. So I've never in my lifetime seen the ruling party 100% line up behind the leader. That's like communist China, right? That's an authoritarian country. I've always seen dissension among the Republicans between different factions of the Republicans, as you would expect in a healthy democracy. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing 100% compliance. That suggests to me real fear, which is the mark of an authoritarian society. I don't know if this regime if President Trump will listen to the Congress. Will it matter who controls the Congress?
Yeah, that's the thing I fear too. Which is, and this is why I was losing my mind over Elon and the Doge stuff, destroying the CFPB one day, getting rid of Meals on Wheels the next day, getting rid of pediatric cancer research and slashing the NIH on the next day, getting rid of these long-term studies, these scientific inquiries. I was looking at that and I was pulling my hair out because it is so obviously plain-faced reading illegal. Like, just so illegal. Obviously, the world's richest man can hack into the back end of our government, steal our data, and then slash whatever programs he wants, slash whatever agencies he wants. But they were doing it. And then when they were told to stop, they kept doing it. And so you look at that and you go, Congress has already been nullified. Because if Congress makes the laws, which they do, and the president signs the bill, which he does, well, then if you have somebody who can get it on the back end and say, I disagree with that, I'm getting rid of this, I'm getting rid of that, I want more money for myself, which is what Elon is doing also, then what's the point of Congress, right? What's the point? They can say, we want this to be the law, and it's supposed to be the law, the president signs it, and the world's richest man goes, I disagree. And then what? If that guy's not stopped, if Elon is not stopped, if Doge is not stopped, Congress is already moot. They're already moot. Because then let's say, okay, we get, you get the Democrats get in Congress. Let's say they somehow, which I don't think it could happen to this extent, but get a supermajority. They hold the Senate, they have 60 votes, and they hold the House by a wide margin, and then they get in that we pass Medicare for all. Okay, well, first, Trump would veto it, but let's even say for argument's sake now he wouldn't. Elon would take one look at it and be like, yeah, we're defunding all that. Sorry, we're not spending on that. So what's the point of Congress, right? This is why I'm saying it's so important that when they're blocked by the court, hey, you can't do that. That needs to be enforced. That needs to be enforced. And I'm close to the point where I'm saying, I don't care how it's enforced. It just has to be enforced. You need, I've said this a million times, but All the Congress people should form a human fucking chain around these buildings that Elon was going into and hacking into the computer systems and doing what he wants, whether it's at the CFPB or elsewhere. Don't let him in. Don't let him in. And so, yeah, I mean, he's right. This is like one of my worst fears.
It's a fair question, right? And by the way, there are a whole host of congressional statutes that have been passed that by previous Congresses being ignored by the administration. Well, Jason Stanley, I do appreciate the work you're doing. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope we find a way forward.
Thank you.
It's dark, man. I mean, he's warning us, right? He's telling us. He's like, it's at least 50-50 that we're already done so. Oh, man. So look, with that being the new reality, like I keep saying, there is no politics as usual. I think it's true. I think you need hands-off protests every fucking week. I think you need a general strike. You know, I think you need a rejection wave, the likes of which this country has never fucking seen before. I think people need to genuinely and sincerely start believing in self-defense and taking it to heart. And, you know, if you're somebody who believes in the law and believes in what this country is supposed to be, you should probably have the ability to defend yourself, right? So, I mean, this is where we are. This is where we are. And I wish I had a nice little cherry on top to give you to soften the blow here, but I got nothing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.